Hello and welcome to Football 301. I'm your host, Nate Tice. We have a live free agency podcast here. We are entering the tail end, I'll call it, the tail end of day 2 of free agency I guess it's the tampering period. I guess we're not even in free agency right now. It's tampering period lead up to free agency, but we're going live to recap our favorite signings, stuff we're questioning, team moves, resetting markets in the interior offensive line world, football 301 favorites all going to the Arizona Cardinals, apparently, everything in between. But to help me do that, we got a 3-man weave today. We're going to go left to right as far as visually. Matt Harmon, great to see you, Matt. How you doing today? Catching up on, I guess, free Jaylen Nailor to the Raiders. I saw was a tweet yesterday. That's one of the signings we'll probably talk about today. But how you doing, bud?
Yeah, baby. I was glad I got that Jaylen Nailor profile up on Sunday night since he was apparently a day one signing of free agency. You'd love to see it. And yeah, that on that note, by the way, we're done with legal tampering. Okay, when Pelissero, puts out on Sunday night. Oh, by the way, like they changed up the rules now, where now you can have like a 1-hour virtual meeting on Monday, during the tampering window before. Like, okay, Monday is when free agency starts. Even if the team accounts can't report it, just enough with the pretense already. We're in free agency. Let's let it ride.
It's like Disney World. It's the early pass for the early pass. That's where we're hitting up at this point in time. Yeah, going to a theme park here. But the third man of our 3-man weave in studio, my guy, Mr. Forverts, Charles McDonald. How you doing today, Chuck? Lefty quarterback enjoyer, Charles McDonald. How you doing?
Let's not go too far. It was funny though, because on Monday I was flying back from a wedding I was at this weekend in Mexico City, and before I got on the plane, basically I got a whole bunch of texts from people saying, "LOL, LOL, don't turn on your phone. Just turn off your phone now. Why are you a fan of the Falcons?" And I don't know. I mean, it's gonna be funny. It's gonna be silly, but I'm okay. I'm hanging in there, and I have to piggyback off Matt. Like the legal tampering period is getting dumber and dumber because it seemed like we were getting stuff like over the weekend that could be happening on like, the legal tampering days. So like let's just get the charade. Like let's end this. Maybe we just find a date where like the cap year or the cap like resets to whatever the next year is going to be, and then we can just have teams sign these guys as soon as it comes out, because I don't really get what this is anymore. It's like we moved beyond legal tampering. Now this is just sign the guys. Let's keep it moving.
That's really what happens at the combine. That's all these discussions are starting to get ironed out. Like there's little interest, and then it becomes more ironed out interest, and then you see what the markets are going to go, and then you start seeing. And I also love the trickle in of a certain position signing, and then the big signing. Like McGovern going back to the Bills, and then the trade. The Bradbury trade happened, and then it was like, oh, and you see Linderbaum's number, and you're like, oh. That's why. Actually, a great transition here. Let's start with some blockbuster signings. I think that's one of the most significant ones. I know offensive linemen and centers might not be the biggest news ever, but I do think the Raiders and their spending, including Linderbaum, for resetting the entire market for interior offensive linemen, I should say, 3 years, $81 million, significantly more than Creed Humphrey. Other big moves, and we can kind of pick apart exactly which ones you guys want to dive into. But on day one, we have Dolphins signing Malik Willis, 3-year deal. Really, it's a 2-year deal. Like first 2 years are guaranteed. Kind of a extended tryout for a team I think that should be entering the tank. But we'll talk probably more about that. Also, kind of glad that was like an Occam's razor signing, because that's something we just assumed, and then other teams got more interested, like dropped like the Cardinals, and made me feel crazy for a few days. But then, okay, at least that one made a lot of sense. Chiefs signing Kenneth Walker, 3 years, $45 million. 49ers signing Mike Evans to a 3 year, $60 million. I can't wait to talk to Matt about that one. And then, of course, Alec Pierce getting the big money, as the Colts also have the transition tag on Daniel Jones, but staying in Indianapolis, which led to a Michael Pittman trade. And we'll talk about all of that. Day 2, we got signings due. We got the Romeo Dobbs with the Patriots for varying amounts, depending on what source you're looking at. So I'll just say varying amounts, good money. And then the Jets traded for Geno Smith was interesting news, but we're going to talk about all those. But those I just listed, those blockbuster signings, and then we're going to talk about edges. Other guards got signed. It was a lot of money thrown around. Matt, I'll start with you. Which one kind of piqued your interest, one of these big money signings that start us off in tampering period of free agency?
Yeah, I mean, I'll play the hits here and say the Mike Evans signing was pretty cool to see. Number one, that was one of the ones that, this has been my beat for a minute now, Nate, where I'm like, news gets reported once a month, and it felt like Mike Evans, really, he's going to test free agency. I think we got that report like once a week for the last month. Like he's going to really do it. He's really, really going to do it. I was kind of skeptical that he would leave Tampa Bay. I mean, he's been in Tampa since 2014. He was Jason Light's first pick ever as the general manager there. I assumed he would want to finish his career there. I think he probably did want to finish his career there. The Bucs have been hedging against him leaving for, not leaving in free agency, but retiring for a while. They spent a first round pick on a receiver last year. They essentially, I think, chose, without knowing it, they kind of chose Chris Godwin over Mike Evans when they re-signed him to a big deal last year. So that's an interesting team build kind of discussion to have on their side of it. But I was still pretty skeptical that he would end up leaving Tampa Bay, but I did think if he got to the open market, there would be a lot of teams really interested in him. And this is one of the ones I actually am kind of glad to see him sign with, because he just fits perfectly as the Kyle Shanahan X receiver. I mean, there are routes at this point with Mike Evans, if he was going to be more of a pure vertical player, like if he had gone to, I think, Buffalo, or he had gone to New England even, where it's more of like that kind of straight line, old school X receiver route tree. That's really not where, to me, Evans shines the most right now. He's still a ball winner, obviously, and I think we did see the small signs of decline in his game last year, but if you just map his 2025 reception perception route tree onto like Brandon Ayuk's route percentage tree from 2023, the digs, the slants, the out routes, that's all the stuff that he still does really, really well. Like, he has become a really strong technician at the position. So he just fits perfectly in that offense there. I think he allows him to move Ricky Pierce all around. So there are risks with Evans. He's going to be 33 years old this year. Whether you believe in the substation conspiracy theory, the 49ers bad luck conspiracy theory, a guy who's constantly has hamstring injuries over the last 5 to 6 years, there's obvious risks here, but I think it's still a pretty cool pairing to see Evans go here. It fits perfectly, and it's a team that, could feed him 10 to 12 touchdowns this year in a very similar way that like Devontae Adams was for the Rams last year. So makes a lot of sense, I think, for both sides for this to end up happening.
That's kind of what I kind of came to, is like Shanahan will use him to his best abilities, whatever that is at this point in time of his career. We'll see. And the Devontae Adams comparison, I'm glad you threw that out there. That's kind of how I view it too. It's almost like a designated hitter role. Like, all right, we're in the red zone, ball goes to you, designer plays, ball goes to you. Kind of these, as the progression goes, we're going to give you these big digs and these kind of just big routes, I think is the best way to put it. And I think Evans is perfect for that. So, Chuck, what about you? Anything other than Evans, if you want to touch on that one, or any of these other big signings that kind of caught your attention, or we can jump to some of our other favorites, which I think one of the big signings is one of your favorites.
Yeah, I think the Evans one is interesting because he still could end his career with the Bucs. I mean, this probably will be like a 1-year deal, just because the guarantees are so small on it. And I like it as just like a 1-year trial. Like, let's just see what happens, see what you got left in the tank. The Baker last year was so up and down. Maybe last year wasn't fully like representative of what Mike has left in the tank if you just look at like some of the box scores and the raw stats. And it's also just kind of an interesting fit because it's not like I feel like Shanahan hasn't quite had maybe like this kind of veteran receiver really where it's just a kind of a different flavor than what he usually has had at receiver over the past few years.
Professional
guys like. Well, yeah, even just like you look at IU and Pearsall, and those are big guys that can run. Debo, like another guy who's really good with the ball in his hands and was an explosive player at his peak, and now this is like kind of a shift. But the money would suggest he's gonna have a pretty big role this year, and I'm kind of interested to see like how that fits and also how much he still has left in the tank. So I agree. Like, it's weird to see him not in Tampa Bay. I wasn't quite sure what happened. But we could still be at a spot next year where Mike Evans is signing a 1-year deal or 1-day deal with the Tampa Bay to kind of get this moving, because I'm kind of like wishy-washy on what's left here based on what he did last year. But you never know. This is a better environment than where he was, and maybe there's still something left to tap into. The other one that I found interesting was, I guess like from a whole perspective standpoint, was the Alec Pierce deal, returning to the Colts, 4 years, $114 million. It's not really about Pierce. I guess it's just, I guess until we know what is happening with Daniel Jones and what that extension ends up looking like, I'm like, it just kind of feels like they're stuck in no man's land. I do like Alec Pierce. I think this deal, makes sense for him. Obviously, you need the explosive, ability over the top, like the long range stuff. but like who's going to be throwing him the ball this year? Like if Daniel Jones is kind of taking his time to get back because his Achilles injury was so late in the season, they just still feel like a little bit of kind of like the island of misfit toys on offense, where you're halfway in, halfway out, but you also traded 2 first-round picks for Sauce Gardner, so like you're kind of all the way in on this, and
this build.
It's just not going to be good enough at the end of the day because we've already seen it.
It's just the Pierce we see as the boost effect, like with Warren and Downs. Like at least he creates the space for them to operate. So it's like, all right, that's kind of ideal. But again, it's just the whole quarterback stuff, like we've talked about, and the lack of resources that they have, and what iteration of Daniel Jones is. Was he running hot? Was the last month more indicative of what it's going to be? I do think Pierce was going to get a big money. Like this is huge money. Will he always live up production-wise to that? I don't know. I do think he has improved. I don't think he will. It's hard to, unless you're a true all-pro caliber guy. And I think he's more just like a super high-end 2. But at least he has the boost effect that like you want from a 2. As far as his role opens up space for everybody else. So it's kind of like I go back and forth, but it's also just like the Colts are in for a penny, in for a pound. It just that with this build, I guess. And it's just we talk about it endlessly, but it's just I don't know. Fascinating is the word.
What's the goal here?
But it's just like,
what's the goal?
What do you say? Yeah, I don't know.
That's the goal here.
That's what I don't get.
I think 80% of it is just to have the same quarterback again for 2 years in a row. Like if you talk to anybody that's like a player with the Colts or like even Colts fans, people, it's just like they have so many battle scars from the constant like transition of guys or whatever that and I'm not, by the way, I'm not saying this is like smart, but I think they're just so desperate to, like I said this to you last week, Nate. I think they learned the wrong lesson from the season last year, and they're just like, they're desperately clinging to kind of the fallacy of like incomplete information is good information. Like they never truly saw it fall off the rails with Daniel Jones. It's like, if we can just get back to the first 8 games of last year, I mean, you might never get back to the first 8 games of last year, but that's what they're holding on to here.
It's still reconfiguring other parts of the team. No, true all-time offense through 2 months. But that's the thing, was like he got banged up before he got hurt. And then seriously banged up, and like he was falling off. But again, that's what he has shown throughout the years. It's like not that it wasn't a good iteration of the offense, but it's just you're chasing highs. You're grading to the flash, as we say, when you're scouting a prospect. No, I know that. I want to see how the Colts kind of fill out everything else. The other kind of moves I just said, I kind of open up with the Malik Willis thing felt obvious in real time, and going. Dolphins are another team. I'm like, what are you guys? Are you tanking? Like, is Malik Willis good enough? Like, what if Malik Willis is good? Okay, cool. All right, but then your contract, like that works out great. But do you have the surroundings to show that he is good? Or are you just going to still have more question marks? And then you might finish the season with question marks, and then you play yourself out of a draft pick, and then now you're going to the next year. Like, I don't think you might have the same problem in a couple of years, I think maybe is the best way to put it. Having said that, at least he has tools. At least he's fun. He seems like a great guy. And at least there's something to work with. Like there's going to be upside here. Like I'm not an idiot to that, but I do think that there's some downside to this, or at least maybe kind of a opportunity cost. I think maybe is the best way to put it, as opposed to maybe just punting it forward, the decision forward, and just having a true stopgap. Like this is a little bit of a commitment, even if it is a lower middle class contract, I'll call it, in the quarterback market. I think it's fair what he got. Like that's what you're going to get for a quarterback that shows flashes, but is not a sure thing. And then the Kenneth Walker to the Chiefs. I had a long discussion about ETN potentially going to the Chiefs, but you can essentially substitute Kenneth Walker for ETN as the same exact discourse, same exact takeaways. They need this. I think their Chiefs offensive line is going to be pretty dang good next year. And I really think that he brings the explosive play element that's like, all right, fine. We try to live with the guys that just get on base. Let's get the guy that can hit some home runs. Could be really fun. Having said that, some of the downsides of Walker is that he's always needed kind of another guy to eat some touches. We talked about with Charbonnet, which fine. You can figure that out. They've always had rotational backs. Reed's always kind of done that. Also, screen game can be really good with Walker in the Chiefs. And I actually like a couple other Chiefs moves that they made. I like the signing of Tonga, Kairos Tonga, and I think that is something they really needed. The run defense was actually pretty good for the Chiefs last year, like 12th-ish, 10th-ish. But they were playing a lot more single high, so they're loading the box, which I think led to a trickle down of some of the other issues that they ran into. So I'm glad I like the Tonga signing as one of kind of those kind of middle class things that they kind of really shore up some stuff. And they brought back Tyquan Thornton, so I can continue the jokes and continue my 14 tweet thread of every deep ball going to Tyquan Thornton that we can maybe continue having. But let's get into some of our favorite signings. Matt, I'll start with you. This is one of your take it any way you want. Oh, I already know your answer. I got a doc right in front of me, but take it any way you want. What was one of your favorite signings, or something a team did, or a player's pairing? Anything you want to go with the first couple of days of free agency?
Yeah, they threw a lot of money at Jaylen Phillips, but I do like the Panthers adding to their front seven here. Like, we knew that Jaylen Phillips was going to get a big deal from the Philadelphia Eagles, but I really like the Devin Lloyd signing, honestly. Like, 3 years, $45 million. I thought that was a little bit less than what Lloyd was going to come in at. And, like, this front seven it's just been brutal the last couple of years, specifically at the second level. Like, their linebackers have not been great. So this is what you do in free agency. Like, and you can question whether it's the right thing or not, but you're essentially just trying to pay for a little bit of certainty. And I kind of like Carolina just trying to find some certainty here, especially at the linebacker position. Like, I think Lloyd had really strong moments last year, not like a complete player. He's going to make his mistakes, but still, for the most part, somebody that I like as an off-ball linebacker. And then for Jaylen Phillips, like, they haven't had any consistent edge rushers since they traded away Brian Burns. They've kind of been in the wilderness there. Like, they've got some young guys in the rotation there, but I like them just going for a bigger name and someone that, like, when he's been healthy, and I know that's obviously a concern. You're going to pay the guy over $100 million, and he's had injuries coming mostly in the Miami days. That's something you have to worry about here. But at the same time, like, him and Derek Brown together, pretty aggressive, relentless front seven there. So, yeah, I do like these moves for Carolina, even if you're having to pay quite a bit to get Jaylen Phillips in the mix here.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to you about Devin Lloyd, Chuck. But the Jaylen Phillips thing, I do think that it's a whopper contract. I mean, that's the best way I could put it. But I was looking at kind of like in relation to the other big deals that edges have gotten. It's the upper middle class. That's what Phillips kind of is. Like, there's the upper class that's above him, like the big names that you think of. Bosa is a little bit more. Myles Garrett, those guys, Micah, Danielle Hunter, what he got with that 1 year extension. He's 26, but it's, again, like you said, it's the health. It's not as much as like, I thought it was like, oh my God, this is one of the top ones. It is, but it's going to age decently because cap going up. But I do think that he has to play. He has to be on the field, because if it does play out like how the rest of his career has been, when he's missed so much time, it's going to be nothing but a disappointment, even if he is playing well when he's on the field. So he has to be playing 13, 14 games a season for this to be valid, for this to make an impact. But it's $10 million more than Nick Benito got. It's just below Bosa at 34. He got $30 million a year. Phillips, $34 million is Bosa, who signed in 2023. So you hope you're getting him now. Like, the upside of this is that it's his peak years. That it should be, like, I make the joke about Disco Stew, but this should be, in athleticism and in sports, this is usually the peak, and this is the prime of the career. He's wildly talented. Some of the production always doesn't show with him. It's more just the stuff, but he's like a part of a good pass rush with Derek Brown being there. I like Nick Gordon. They have some cool stuff up at that front. The Devin Lloyd thing, I go back and forth with Devin Lloyd. I understand the athleticism. I think he has to have someone to point and shoot him to make him like a more valid player, and have to have good coaching. So I'm curious of how this one will age. Charles, what did you think of that one with Devin Lloyd going there? Because I know we talked about him as being a possible kind of buyer beware candidate.
Yeah, it's better than what you had, which I think is a good start for Carolina. But I still feel a little buyer beware, because I look at Devin Lloyd's season, and especially the early season when he had the streak of interceptions, all turnovers. Just do it again, because that's where most of your value came from. And I think, like when you watch football and you kind of even if you just study the data and you're not as in tune to the games, this stuff is like kind of random. Just you happen to be in a certain spot at the right time, have something come your way, and those can be hard to replicate. And I just kind of worry that maybe the down to down play with him isn't always consistent. But when you are Carolina, what I will give them is this. Over the past, let's call it 2 years, I think, like going back to basically like the Clint Kubiak breakout party, I think when Derek Carr and the Saints, they scored 1 million points on the Panthers, and the year Derek Brown got hurt and they had nobody. Like you have been underneath like a multi-year defensive like rebuild up front, and I think that they probably view both of these guys, Devin Lloyd and Jaylen Phillips, as guys that can hopefully push them back into maybe playoff contention on defense. I think that's a fair risk based on what they had last year and how they got to the playoffs and they played the Rams tough. But man, I just don't know if Devin Lloyd is going to fully live up to this contract. But maybe I shouldn't be looking at it because they got better. And what free agents really do live up to the contracts, like
right,
the market and everyone's getting. And that's where you get these inflated deals. So what I should be saying is congratulations to Devin, congratulations to Jaylen. That's a lot of money, man. And if you had asked me like this point last year, if these guys would be getting these kind of deals, I probably would have said absolutely not. That seems a little crazy, but they're here. Congrats on the wealth, fellas.
And like you said, this is the crap to not crap jump. I mean, Phillips is much better than that, but even Devin Lloyd is average. It's so much better than they've had, but I think he's better than that. But even if he's average, it's better than that. And they got other interesting pieces. They really do. I actually think their worst signing was Kenny Pickett. Because I cannot get over how he keeps having a market. I'm so sorry, Kenny Pickett. He must be a great hang. He has to be. Like I'm just like, try harder. Teams like really try harder. I'm like, you act like, I don't know. Also, I've thought of some names, some bigger receivers Shanahan has had. Mohamed Sanu was a big guy.
Oh,
and then Andre Johnson, of course, but Andre Johnson is prime, a Hall of Famer. that we're not getting prime Mike Evans right now. We're getting a late career. Didn't Andre Johnson have a stint with like the Colts or the Patriots or something at the end of his career?
Titans.
We're all
Titans. Everyone has a stint with the Titans.
Of course, yeah.
That should have been assumed. No, that was a good one, Matt, because I the Phillips one I've marinated on, and I like it. Like, of course, this is the premium you're paying, but it's like they need this. And I mean, the NFC South is wide open, and they have to be trying to win games. Like, they're not in reset mode; they're in push mode. So, Chuck, let's get with your favorite free agent signing and move in the first couple days.
I went with Tyler Linderbaum with the Raiders because we all know that they will be taking Fernando Mendoza with the first overall pick. I mean, last time I looked, as of this morning, this could have changed, but the only quarterback they had on the roster was Aiden O'Connell. And look, Aiden O'Connell's got a pretty long leash there to the point where I think we know what that is. So, Mendoza, like, congrats on your new center and Tyler Linderbaum. And I think this is good because we've talked a lot about just how much having a guy like that can help in the middle. We saw this year with Caleb Williams and Drew Dahlman, how much that kind of solidified the offensive line. And we've seen, like, the Patriots try to flip out guys to see if they can get someone in there to help Drake May. Even if you just want to take it back to, like my Falcons center brain when they plopped Alex Mack into the middle of that offense in 2016, like that made a huge difference for them. So just having someone who can take some of the load off of Mendoza's plate and also just kind of help the rest of the offensive line out in general. Like, I mean, I think this is going to be a big loss for the Ravens, and obviously they made the decision that he was going to hit free agency. And I don't even think they picked up his option. So now he gets to be the beneficiary of that and get the 3-year, $81 million deal. Wow, that's a lot of money for a center, but I think he's earned it, and I think it's even more crucial for the Raiders just to get this player at this time because, first of all, like Mendoza, he's an older prospect, so like ideally you want to hit the ground running like as fast as possible. He's a guy who played a lot of college football. It's not like he's going to be sitting on the bench behind Aiden O'Connell, So let's just try to maximize this like as fast as possible, and also because of the division you play in. You're behind Kansas City, the Chargers, Denver. You're looking at like just the names: Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Jim Harbaugh, Justin Herbert, Sean Payton. I mean, those are titans of the league and really like huge fixtures of like the last 2 decades of football. You're not going to get there by kind of just taking small hacks and kind of incrementally building. Just go for it. You're going to have the quarterback build this thing out as fast as possible and hope that Clint Kubiak can do his thing, and hopefully you're not stuck at the bottom for too much longer.
Yeah, this is the hypothetical, not the hypothetical. It is the benefit of a potential rookie quarterback contract is you can pay money. Well, and also the downside of not having any players to play or players to pay is you can spend money. So I don't know. What else are they going to spend on? Like, might as well get a position that actually matters for a young quarterback's development more than a splashy receiver or something of that sort, which I'm going to talk to you, Matt, about what the Raiders did. But with Tyler Linderbaum going there, it's a great scheme fit. Like, I don't think Linderbaum is a true elite center, but I do think he's good to very good. And I also think that, like, okay, I wouldn't like him for everybody. Love him for Clint Kubiak. Like, he's the ideal center for this offense. He can handle protections. He's just going to be a calming force. If you're going to boost up your rookie quarterback, I love this more than anything because this offensive system and Linderbaum's presence will also help out the rest of the offensive linemen, even if they don't add more to it, which I think they will. And also just kind of doesn't limit your draft picks as well. Like, they can go about it in a variety of different ways, which I think they should anyways. And also, the Raiders made a bunch of splashes. You brought up the Alex Mack one, Rodney Hudson going to the Raiders when I was there with Derek Carr. That was a calming effect on him. It's a really good thing for a rookie quarterback. I know I pounded over Drew Dalman last year for the Bears. I say it all the time, but it's very real. And Linderbaum's kind of worth that. And I think it's going to be really good. So this also led into
Genty's. So Ashton Jennings got to be fist pumping too.
Oh yeah.
Wow. Last year he got crammed, man. I don't remember I don't know where he finished, but I remember this for a good portion of the season, he had more yards after contact than overall yards. So I was like, man, just get somebody in there to help him. So both of those guys, Mendoza and Genty, will definitely benefit from this guy being in the middle.
Absolutely. No, I mean, we get excited about medium running backs or average running backs in that system. Now you get a guy that's actually talented and actually have some juice in front of him. But the Raiders were big spenders. Talked about they didn't have money to spend on anybody. They traded Maxx Crosby away. They signed Kwity Paye. They signed Nakobe Dean and Quay Walker because that's the classic. One guy tells one guy to point and shoot. This is where you go. And then that's exactly the pairing, which I think is hilarious that they signed them in tandem, basically recreating the college days. But then they also signed Jaylen Nailor. And I thought, the receiver room needed to be added here in Las Vegas. And Nailor was the signing for the Raiders, or at least one of them. That doesn't mean they have to stop adding to their weapons and their pass catchers and everything. But what'd you think about this one, Matt? This was not a pairing I maybe assumed or kind of predicted. I thought Nailor would have more of a market. I think his projected hit, like somebody projected like 1 year, $5 million he was going to get. And I was like, he's getting more than that. Yeah. But you charted Nailor recently. What do you think of this fit? What do you think of just Nailor overall?
Yeah, I think the kind of prevailing idea was that Rashid Shaheed might follow Clint Kubiak to from Seattle to Las Vegas, but I know you like Trey Tucker. Trey Tucker led all wide receivers in snap percentage last year, which is like an insane fact.
Got to get him on the field.
How often he was on the field? Yeah, I think Trey Tucker's fine. We don't need to be playing him every single snap. Yeah. It's one of those things like how much of it is a bit, how much of it is real. But I do think he's actually like a pretty useful player. Sure. And in some ways, though, it's kind of a too much samey skill sets between Shaheed and Tucker, even though I think Shaheed's a little bit more like well-rounded than Tucker is. But they kind of already have that like speed stretch guy, but they don't necessarily have like a 3-position player who can do like some of the dirty work that's more proven, which is I think what Nailor is. And one thing that I kept thinking about, because I've done so much work on Omar Cooper as we talked about the combine, Nate, like just the amount of outcuts that guy ran over and over and over again in Indiana from the slot. And Jaylen Nailor was doing a ton of that for the Minnesota Vikings last year. So I think there is a lot of just copy paste some of that. He was also really good at the catch point. Like at times I thought he was the best contested catch receiver that the Vikings had last year and had the best chemistry with JJ McCarthy, which like, that's not good, by the way. You don't want your third receiver to have the best chemistry with your, quarterback who's been disappointing to this point. Like that's not great, but it is a testament to Nailor, who, like I said, I think can play all 3 receiver positions, can do some of the pre-snap motion that's going to be required out of this offense. So yeah, I liked it as kind of a, hey, we're just adding to a room that needs a lot to it. You don't quite know if Thornton or Besh are going to be a part of your future here. So this allows you to kind of have some insurance. And I think they'll still add a name or two in the NFL draft as well. And really it's all about like propping up Brock Bowers. So whoever you get in the wide receiver room is going to be a complimentary player as it is.
That's kind of what's nice about Bowers is that none of these guys have to be a true one. They just have to be nice, like just have roles that are defined roles. And they have picks 1, 14, 36, 67. And a whole bunch of day 3 picks. They signed, I mentioned all the defensive guys. They traded for Teron Johnson, who's kind of, he's on his last legs. I think that, but whatever. They throw a body out there. They're trying to boost up. They got to spend money somewhere. They also traded Geno Smith to the Jets, which I wasn't sure if that would ever happen. I thought that might have been that was X'd out on the map of looking at potential landing spots for Geno. But apparently it's, again, just like wrestling, never say never.
Well, they were reportedly the Jets traded for him so that they wouldn't have to compete for his services. That was, I think it was Connor Hughes maybe reported that, which is like,
okay,
how much did Geno want? Which, I mean, it's like a thing to say in 2026 that like we've just got to secure Geno Smith. Was that we got to secure Geno Smith to not compete with other offers, or we got to trap Geno here because he's not going to want to come back?
Or is it Geno wants his current contract?
And it was like, I don't want to rip this up quite.
That's part of it.
Quite yet. I mean,
it's hard to get $30 million a year if he free agency right now.
It's not bad. Hey, I'm talking about that middle class QB market. It's not bad if you can get it. But the Jets kind of, maybe Geno's a perfect example of this, but their defensive signings too. They kind of maybe have gotten too good to tank. They I don't know what's going on kind of with them right now, but Matt, actually we're kind of bouncing all over the place, but maybe one of your kind of questionable moves that the Jets are doing, they signed Joseph Asai, who I really liked in free agency.
Yeah.
Signed David Onyemata, Demario Davis, Minka Fitzpatrick, traded for Devondre Sweat, and they just signed Nashawn Wright before we started. What are your questions with the Jets right now? What do you got for us?
Like, what is this team? I can't. Like, what are the New York Jets? Like, I don't. What do you mean? What do I mean? Like, point at all of the things here. I mean, Onyemata and Demario Davis like have some tangential connection to Aaron Glenn from the the New Orleans days. Which, like, man, Demario Davis, I kind of wanted better for him to like finish his career than with whatever this Jets team is. That one's kind of weird. But yeah, just these are teams. These are trades that like. I don't even know how good any of those guys will be for this team this year, but like they all together kind of look like finishing touches to a defense, but this is like a fully rebuilding defense. Yeah. So it still could be a mess of a unit in 2026. And yeah, trading for Geno like that does, I don't know. I mean, I guess it could be worse if you're somebody like me who cares about Garrett Wilson and has like a little bit of an A.D. Mitchell fascination. Like, I guess it could be worse behind center, but I just like don't understand what are the goals? What are the goals of this team? Like, are they trying to tank? Are they looking forward to next year? Are they trying to win this? This is what happens when you fire your whole coaching staff, but keep the head coach. You keep a GM who. I don't know anything about Darren Muji. He says like nothing at press conferences. It's just like, are they acquiring a bunch of draft picks to just rebuild, or it just like feels like there's so many competing messages with this team.
Yeah.
And I don't think free agency did anything to clear up like this is what we are. This is what we're trying to accomplish this year.
They also have a very well-known owner, a guy who's made a lot of moves that are. Eccentric over the years, we could say. So,
sure.
If I had to guess what happened here, tanking sounds fine in theory, but is probably just absolutely excruciating to go through in practice. So you could have a So here's what I think happened. The Jets, they have this plan, especially at the trade deadline. You trade away Sauce, traded Quinn, cool. You got your draft capital. The plan is we're going to tank. We're going to be really bad. And then you do it. You have 34-10. This is their last 5 games to close the season. All losses, of course. 34-10, 48-20, 29-6, 42-10, 35-8. And you get to the end of the season. By the grace of God, you still have your job. But most importantly, you're like, I can't do that. That can't happen again. We can't for like a month and a half.
Right.
Not resemble anything close to an NFL football team. So I don't think this is a good defense yet, but you can just see where they're like, we got to get a baseline of competency that we did not have last year, because we will all go absolutely insane if we're out here losing every game 30 points, we're giving up 40 points, we're not scoring anything on the other hand. So it's another they got Minka Fitzpatrick, Nashawn Wright, Joseph Adai, Demario Davis, David Onyemata, the Devondre Sweat trade. That's a lot of additions. It's better than what you had. Is it good? I don't know, but you should look like a real football team, which I think might just be what they're going for right now. Let's just look like that.
Yeah, real football team is the bar. Real football team is the bar, I guess they're going for. Also, by the way, they got Breece Hall out there tweeting about how much money they're giving out when they just kind of trapped him with the franchise tag.
I know.
So bizarre.
I think competing forces best way to put it. Like, even like look at the coaching hires. It was like, all right, sure, Frank Reich, why not? Like, why not bring him in? Like, after you just did an interim at Stanford. I know, and I like some of the young offensive linemen. Like Membu was like great last year. But then now they lose John Simpson. I really like that signing for the Ravens. And then Elijah Vera Tucker goes to the Patriots. So now they even have questions there. They do have those picks. They have what? They have 2, 16, 33, 44, and then they don't pick again until round 4, 103. So, they got draft capital. We'll see how they kind of stick this landing, but they got a new staff. They got 6 new starters right now projected on defense that they just signed in 2 days and moved for in less than a week.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. I think that's what it is. It's just sure. Like maybe there can be a feisty out, but then it's also like, well, you have 3 first-round picks the next year. And if you're pick 9 and it's a 2 quarterback class, and it doesn't matter if you have 9, 16, and 28 or whatever you're going to have, like, because then the teams that have 1 and 2 are just going to go, nope. Like, just like the Patriots did with pick 3. And everyone's like, oh, Vikings trying to move up and the Broncos are trying to move up. And Elliott Wolf of the Patriots went, I'm good. I'm just going to pick them. Like, I'm just going to pick Drake May. Like, so you can say you're going to move up, but like, if there's some teams don't have to. It takes 2 to tank.
Charles is so right. Like tanking sounds better than it ends up actually. Because number one, like Aaron Glenn's not trying to tank, and nobody would have accused the Raiders of trying to tank last year. Like they were trying to be a competent football team, and then picking first in the draft this year. So just like it's always those best laid plans. Always easier said than done.
It's a very physical sport too, so it's hard to just go like, yeah, work your butt off in hard practice and then like just lose. Okay, cool, thanks, and do it again. Now, can you just be fodder for us? That's tough to do. Getting back to more favorite signings. This is a football 301 favorite, but I figured it's just fitting that start with this. This is Charlie Kolar going to the Chargers, but it's more of a way to talk about the Chargers kind of Mike McDaniel moves, I guess is the best way to put it. They added Alec Ingold. I like that because don't like Alec Ingold for everybody, but for Mike McDaniel and this Shanahan offense, really like it. Cole Strange, interesting flyer to kind of throw on. He had some nice moments, I would say, for the Dolphins. It wasn't overwhelmingly good. I think still some pass protection stuff, but he can move, and they need bodies. And, of course, they signed Tyler Biadasz, which is now looking like a great deal. And, again, I want to know what the heck's going on with Washington right now. But, Tyler Biadasz and I think Charlie Kolar and, taking the flyers on these other guys, I'm digging it. This is something that the Chargers have needed for a while, a true blocking tight end. This also unlocks Gadsden to do Gadsden stuff. So now it also just unlocks the rest of your receiving room because you don't have to live in 11 personnel. So it's one of these that's why I talk about the importance of wide tight ends is just that it unlocks so much for your offense, not just play call wise, but personnel wise. So I think that's what Gadsden, as much as I like him as a receiving tight end, he's not a good blocker. And this offense is going to have him go on the move. It's going to use him in his best way. But I do think having a guy that could truly set the edge, what Julian Hill was in this offense, where I think Kolar is better than that. So I really like the signing. These are the kind of I know offensive line needs to get added to for this team, but this is the type of like in between moves that what really puts a run game over the top. So yeah, I'm just digging what the Chargers did here and adding him. So any other thoughts on what the Chargers did, or just other thoughts with tight ends?
The last thing the Chargers need is just a cheat code for infinite health. If we could just get that would be huge. Right. I mean, 'cause look, I look at this and hey, this looks pretty solid on paper. We got Slater, Biadasz, Alt, Herbert, American Hampton should be healthier next year. Mm-hmm. It looks good. But this team's so cursed. They're so cursed. Like, we could still find ourselves a spot where it's just Herbert with, like, one arm dragging them to a really sad wild card loss by himself. But I'm hoping that that's not the case this year. Let's hope the Chargers don't charge it up.
The perpetual offseason hype for the Chargers builds now. I know our local Chargers hyper over there, Matt Harmon, is looking at it too. And and they finally gave Taylor Tart money, which cheered me up. But yeah, any thoughts on the Chargers, Matt?
Well, real football thought is that the Chargers were 5th last year in percentage of plays with 3+ receivers on the field. That's coming way down this year between the fullback. I love Charlie Kolar even getting from the insiders the highest paid blocking tight end in NFL history.
Yeah.
That's when we've really jumped the shark with selling these contracts. If I'm Charlie Kolar, I'm looking at it like, man, I don't even know if I like that. I don't even know if I like that sell. But it is funny, like, some of the Yahoo fantasy producers and I were looking at this last year, is that the Chargers. People talk about the 49ers and the electrical substation, not to bring it back to that. The Chargers are in El Segundo, like my former hometown there in California. That's near all kinds of like power plants, the Chevron facility, the water treatment plant, like the internet conspiracy theories. I mean, the Chargers injury history has gone way past even before they were in El Segundo, but like somebody needs to be looking into that, okay? Because there's a lot of treatment facilities and plants, power plants in that Chevron thing would just like blow up every now and again when they would get like alerts. But see, the airport, there's all kinds of pollutants in the air near where
they used to play at Qualcomm Stadium. I'm sure that didn't help.
That's true.
In San Diego.
No, yeah.
They're called the Chargers. What if they are the electrical output system? The Chargers are the system. And that's why everyone gets hurt.
Look, we're just asking questions.
The logo.
We're just noticing
ruining their
things.
joints.
Look at it.
We're just noticing
things. We're just asking questions. That's all we're doing here. Matt, your next favorite signing, I believe, is a former Panther going somewhere.
Yeah.
What's the next one that you liked?
I like Cade Mays to the Lions because that Lions offensive line has really it's kind of deteriorated at this point. It's really deteriorated.
Stuff happens quick, man.
Like, 2 years ago, like best offensive line in the NFL. This year, Penei Sewell and some guys. I don't think there's any certainty really anywhere else here. So I'm not pitching Cade Mays as some kind of like superstar necessarily, but I think he did play really well last year for the Carolina Panthers on asked for. I like his size and ability to just like be a kind of a stalwart guy in the middle in what I imagine is going to be a pretty gap heavy scheme with Drew Petzing coming in as the offensive coordinator there. So I think he should be able to handle those duties well. He's not necessarily a guy that you want to get out on the move as a run blocker. So I do think the run game will look a little different. But like Jahmyr Gibbs was talking about this at the end of last year where they just weren't the same rushing team as they had been. And like, that was pretty obvious if you were just like watching the games, looking at the results for the Lions, like they need to get that run game back on track. And I think their lean this year will be to go heavier, to be more of like a gap-based run team. And I think Cade Mays coming in here as a pretty hefty center will be a big part of that. So yeah, you're kind of at a point now where you're rebuilding this unit that once was the strength and the identity of your team. This is by far not the only move that will happen here, not even perhaps the most important move that they make along the offensive line in the offseason, but it's a good start. It's a good start to refurbish that interior, especially as you're losing Taylor Decker now as well.
Yeah. They
I like this move.
I did too. Yeah. What do you think about the Lions right now, Chuck?
I think this is kind of a move they had to make. And the reason why I also like the Cade Mays sign is even though he's going to be 27 this year, he's still a guy that still has some upside left. He's only started 27 games in his career. He was a guy that was like a big-time recruit coming out of college, even though I know he wasn't drafted too high. He's still been able to stick around and improve a little bit every year. So maybe this is a guy that continues to get better in Detroit. And, man, like, they need it because like you guys were saying, it got thin up there real quick with the Lions offensive line, and we all know how much like that matters for Jared Goff and how he plays this year. So you've got, at least got another dice roll with Cade Mays on the offensive line. See if those guys can keep developing and just kind of stay afloat in what could be a really, really competitive NFC North this year, especially if the Vikings do end up getting their hands on
average. I would say even a little better than that when he had to play. But that's better than what they were getting. And they had Drew Scruggs added into that Montgomery trade, which was, again, a body that they can throw out the positions. And then I'm curious if they go left tackle in the first round. Are they putting kicking over Sewell to left tackle, getting right tackle, a tackle of some sort? I'm curious in Gio Manu. I've said it before, but I actually thought he had some interesting film. But he was drafted to be a long-term project and hopefully with some upside. So I don't know if they are ready to pull the trigger on him starting yet. But yeah, this was the strength of the team. It's very telling that there are moves where Isaiah Pacheco, Cade Mays, Larry Borum, and Drew Scruggs. That's who the Lions have added. 3 offensive linemen and a running back. So this is a team that went from we are running everybody over to now we're bottom 10 in efficiency. We have to live and die in explosives. They're like, nope, never again. We have to get back to this. Chuck, you got something?
And most importantly, you don't have to call Frank Ragnow again, who was walking around with a completely torn hamstring. So
failed a level 7 hamstring tear.
This is something they needed. They thought they needed because they were about to take a center with one leg who probably wasn't even 300 pounds anymore. So at least you got a real NFL player this time. That's a big move for the Lions, and hopefully it quells their desperation.
And there's not much downside to this. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this isn't like killing you. It's not precluding you from doing anything. Like, that's the thing. These are these lower middle class signings that are just like, all right, like, yeah, you might not get more than what you signed for, but like, that's the point. You're getting what you signed for, and hopefully you tap into more. Charles, what was your next signing that you really liked from the first couple days of free agency?
I was going to say just Cordell Flott for the Titans, but actually the more I thought about it, I kind of did like some of the defensive signings that they made. Not just Flott, but Cordell Flott was a cornerback from the Giants last year. They also signed Saints cornerback Alontae Taylor, who had, he kind of came back to where his reputation was last year compared to where it was as a rookie, because he had a little bit of a downswing in the middle. In the middle stretch of his Saints tenure, but he did bounce back last year enough to get a big contract extension. And sneakily, the Saints defense was pretty solid last year, including their pass defense. I thought that he played a pretty big role in that compared to where he was in the past. So, it's a little bit of a risk with Taylor. I think Flott was probably steadier just over the total maybe 4-year run, or at least just like the peaks of his play. It seemed like he maybe was able to sustain those a little bit longer. But you got two cornerbacks that you really needed, and then you added John Franklin Myers to your defensive line, another guy who played with Robert Saleh with the Jets. So now that's him and Jermaine Johnson up front, who will be joining Jeffrey Simmons, where I think JFM and Jeffrey Simmons, that's a fun duo right there, because JFM is he's one of those tweeners that you can respect, that can actually play a little bit of everything instead of guys who are just like on the field and kind of just misguided because they don't have like the prototypical size for any spot. But he can play a little bit of anywhere. I mean, he's played in, since the Jets, he played for the Broncos defense, which is a lot different than what Robert Saleh was running with New York. So the versatility is already kind of laid out for you right there.
That's a great point.
This is kind of like what the Jets have done to a degree, but I think this is a little bit more solid because you have Cam Ward, you have a little bit of proof of concept that he can be the guy for the future. But it's just like, man, let's just get some guys on defense that will help us look credible. And I think Flott actually has a chance to maybe become a more well-known guy with Tennessee now that he's gotten like the big bag alert, because big bag alert. I got sideswiped by the graphic alert, but he got the big bag. Maybe he's got a chance to be a bit of a
it was kind of a big bag alert, though. Like, hey.
Yeah, big bag alert. Yeah. Well, yeah, because
people know whose dinner is on now. Yeah.
Yeah, because I had people ask me, who the hell is Cordell Flott? And I'm like, well, if you haven't been watching Giants football, I don't blame you. But he's actually pretty solid.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's got upside. He's a guy with size. He's got speed, ball skills. So if the defensive line does, what they can do under Robert Saleh, if they can get pressure, if they add someone else at the top of the draft, if that's Ruben Bain or David Bailey or something like that, then those guys can actually really take advantage, because Robert's going to cut those guys loose and they're going to play crazy up front. And it just seems like a little bit more of a cohesive scheme than maybe it looked like when they first hired him. So, this is why you go through the offseason. You start to see that defense coming together. Robert is a quality defensive coordinator. What he likes to do, they will probably be good at. And it just kind of matters if the players that they have can finish plays. But it's a better start than where they were a few months ago.
Yeah, he's like you say, he's a tweener, but like he uses it like, okay, base downs, he might be an edge. He's the power edge, if you want to call it. Like I think they call him elephant, their defense. But it's Armstead was that in the 49ers. Pardon?
It was taking me back. It's like looking at the old Seattle defenses where they had Red Bryant out there at defensive end, 240 pounds. It's good stuff.
Yeah, the Leo.
Leo's the twitchy guy. And then, it's like it's a hybrid defense. That's what they did. But really, it's a 3-4 Sam. I'm sorry, 3-4 strong side D end. And then they kick inside, and like Armstead used that, and they would bump him inside on rush downs. And basically it was now it's a medium-sized defensive tackle. And I think that's what this defense thrives off of, is that they win with speed, so they can sacrifice some size. I tweeted this out yesterday. He's one of 8 defensive tackles that had a pressure rate of 10% or higher and a stuff rate of 5% or higher. Some of that's the Broncos defense, but he has done this. And he's a mauler, and he's productive. And now he gets paired with one of the elite defensive tackles. I think that's an amazing Bash Bros pairing, and Saleh's going to win up front. Like he doesn't like the blitz. He likes to win up front with 4. And I think there is something too that now you don't need absolutely right now. We need to draft edge. We need to draft defensive line. It's more like, okay, if the guy that we like is there, we can take him. Or if there's a skill guy there, or if there's an offensive lineman there, now they can kind of pick. I do not think they should draft running back, even though they need one. But God, there's so much smoke about it right now. I'm like, oh God, you guys are going to do it, aren't you? But I love the JFM signing. That was one of my favorite signings of the first couple of days. Taylor did play so much better. He's got slot versatility as well. And like you said, I like the Flott thing too. I'm going to get into the Wan'Dale Robinson signing later. There's one of my negative ones, but yeah, I like the Titans kind of some of these opening moves, and it's just like they have to spend money. They got no one else to pay. They're trading away Roger McCreary last year. Anyone that just like had a pulse. So, you know, I think that there's something to like Flott signings where it's like a bad unit boost. You know, where it's like you sign a guy off a bad unit. It's like, no, this guy's a little bit better than he's indicated. I thought a guy like that was Justin Reed when he came from the Texans to the Chiefs, was that he was kind of getting hidden in a bad Texans defense. And then once he kind of got unlocked by the Chiefs defense, you got more out of him. So I think that's always a thing. Xavier McKinney going from the Giants' bad defense to then going to the Packers, you know, because I think Brian Dable can't really evaluate talent, which I'll get into. But before I get into a signing I do like, Yahoo is the home of 2026 Indoor Football League. And their season kicks off this Saturday on Yahoo Sports. And me, Nate Tice, I'm going to call a few games this year, including this Saturday as the Quad City Steamwheelers, take on Fisher's Fright in Indianapolis. I'll be going there Friday night. The game's on Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern. I'll be calling live football games this weekend and all summer with Jason Fitz and Caroline Fenton, both of Yahoo. So this is going to be a ton of fun. Yahoo Sports TV, Yahoo Sports Network. Check it out at 5 p.m. Eastern this Saturday. Find it on major free streaming apps, Prime Video, Samsung, LG, Plex, or on yahoosports.tv. All right, now let's get into another favorite thing of mine. Jaylen Watson going to the Rams. Trent McDuffie, Jaylen Watson, both going to LA. And I like this. Scheme fit. The weakness of the Rams was their corners. And they said, okay, let's upgrade both of them. And they got guys that fit their defense because it's a very aggressive defense. They play a lot of dime. Spags and Chris Shula have more alike than you would think. Going with this one. I really like this. I thought this was perfect. Again, upper middle class signing on top of the McDuffie trade. This is a team that's pushing it. And this is one of those where it's not just this year. It's for the post-Stafford era as well. That will kind of be retooling as well. So really liked Watson to the Rams. That's really all they've done, right? I can't. All they've done, just traded for Trent McDuffie. They also signed Cameron Crowe. Again, just that, the biggest trade, one of the biggest trades. But anything else on the Rams, or you guys have thoughts on this as well before I thank the Cardinals for signing all of our Football 301 favorites?
Well, I was going to say, Watson, like, as a big physical presence on the outside, I think matters a lot for this team because I was hounding the Rams for this all throughout the course of the end of the season. Like from the moment Jalen Coker roasted them on as like an X receiver, ISO go route player. And I love, obviously I love Coker, but like big receivers with size could just mess them around last season. Like they got their ass kicked in that way. I like Watson bringing more of a physical presence to the outside here. And it allows you to do some versatile stuff with Trent McDuffie too. So yeah, this was by far the weakest part of their team last year, and they're like, okay, well that's not going to happen to us again. Let's try to fix that in one off season.
It truly is the no more half measures theory, like where teams just go, okay, never again. Like, okay, we tried it, no more, never again. Like, I don't know. I just really like this. It's like now that, and also again, this is now with their first round pick. They have a top 15 pick. They can do what they want with it. Now it's not like we have to draft corner here. And this is an interesting corner class, but maybe not that true blue chip guy. Delane's pretty good. And some other guys they're up there as well. Chuck, any more thoughts on the Rams, or do you want to start getting into some stuff that you maybe did not like or think are questionable?
I just think it's funny sometimes how hard the Rams wear their feelings on their sleeves, because Sean really took that loss hard at the NFC title game.
Oh, you think?
Because he's almost quit. Like he almost quit a couple years ago, and then the funniest one was when they had the moment where, like, are we going to trade Cooper Kupp? And then they had the one game where everybody was back together and they scored some points and Cooper had a big game. And they're like, yeah, actually, no, we're not trading everyone. We're running it back together. We're all pals. And now, after that agonizing loss, they're like, get me as many NFL DBs as you can. We got McDuffie. They got Jaylen Watson. They re-signed Cam Curl. So they're feeling it. They obviously want that push, and they are not ever shy about hiding how bad they want to win and get back to it. I think it's kind of fun because at least they deliver. You know, it's not like they're out here being bad and spending all this money.
Right.
And you have to trust the program at this point. So I'm excited to see how the defense goes. We talked all last season about how Chris Shula did a great job, and you just kind of ran out of steam because the players that you have on the outside weren't ready to take you to the next step, and now they have like legit bona fide starters on the back end to try and make that last playoff push with Stafford.
You know what makes me more optimistic about their proof of concept rather than like, oh, they won the offseason, all systems go, even though they made the Final Four last year and truly were probably the second best team in the NFL after the Seahawks last year, is that they have more proof of concept with this light defense, aggressive defense, lighter defensive bodies. They were like really good against the run, right? At the very least, tangible against the run. It wasn't a weakness. It was, I mean, they were top 5 most of the year, but easily a top 10, top 12 run defense. That's what's made me more optimistic about what they do, because now it turned into the corners were the weakness, but the scheme is working. You know, the bodies and how they attack and how the front wins. So I get kind of having this last push and shoring up the back end. So again, that's like where I think there's more real, you know, kind of optimism rather than just chasing headlines, I guess. Oh, that was a weakness. They shored it up. Like, these guys make a lot of sense scheme wise, and they have talent and they have youth, versatility. I just really, really like it. Again, before I kick over to maybe some negative signings or lackluster signings or questionable things that we have, the Cardinals, thank you for listening. I swear that guy on the staff for the Cardinals is not related to me, but they signed Roy Lopez, Tyler Algier, Isaac Sumalo, Kendrick Bourne, all guys that at one point have come up in conversations about underrated, all football 301 in some way, shape, or form. And then they also signed Gardner Minshew as the tank commander, who has done it successfully before. Because Jimmy G left them at the altar. Okay, Jimmy?
I don't have Jacoby Brissett anyways. I don't know.
What a down bad headline though. What a down bad headline for the Cardinals. Like, yeah, we couldn't get Jimmy G in here, so we had to get Gardner Minshew. We couldn't go. And listen, if I was Jimmy, I wouldn't. Yeah, we've got Nate's cousin on the field.
Oh wow!
If I was Jimmy Garoppolo, I would definitely much rather hang out in LA and be the backup than go start for the Cardinals. Like, that sounds like a way cooler life at this point. But dude, Gardner Minshew, that was probably the most perplexing signing of day one, just because he doesn't even have any weird, at least that I know of, connection to like LaFleur or Hackett. I was even thinking, like, was Hackett, was he in Jacksonville when Gardner started? Like, no, that was the next. Gardner was drafted in 19. Hackett was the OC, like, for I think 16 to 18 or 15 to 18 or whatever. So it's just like, who cares? I don't know, but like, yeah, just that one caught me off guard. They got to do something else. It's just listen, it's just pretty bleak to tell the fans like on March 9th, Jacoby Brissett, Gardner Minshew all year. That's it. You might as well just say like tune in next year.
Or don't even do that. I don't know. Like,
hey, they got Wi-Fi now at the stadium.
Is Minshew going to play? That's what I've been wondering.
Why? Like,
I don't know. I don't know why he should play or why he shouldn't play. I don't know what this is. What is this? Like, what's the plan here? Because this kind of gets back to where we were talking about with the Raiders earlier. And, okay, like, you're going to have the first pick. You're going to have Mendoza. Look at your division. Like, accelerate this. Like, let's go try and win now. Like, or we're just going to hang idle and just wait for these things to dissipate over the next decade. But is that what's about to happen with Arizona? Because you don't have the quarterback. Obviously, you're about to let Kyler go or they let him go. And this division is tougher than the AFC West. We just talked about the Rams. They're here. We've talked about the 49ers. They're here. We haven't talked about the Super Bowl champions that have the best defense in the league and the best defensive mind. I mean, dude, you're the Cardinals, and you look across the division, and just at head coach, you see Mike McDaniel, Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, and you got Mike LaFleur, Jacoby Brissett, and Gardner Minshew. Like you better hope you lose enough games to get the first pick. Because if you don't, like what is this? What's next? Is Mike LaFleur going to win a division game before he gets fired? That's my biggest question with the Cardinals right now. Because I feel very confident that he's not seeing the end of this rebuild through. Oh, and it's not a slight to him. Like it's a slight to where this team is and what the competition is. It's just brutal. And good luck, man. I do appreciate the Cardinals fans on the internet are very funny. They are taking this all in stride. They've gotten used to how bad this is, and they've made jokes about how like this is kind of what they deserve for still rooting for the team. I feel you spiritually on that with my own troubles and my own fandom. So let's all just hope we get respectable by 2030. That's the goal here.
It's a long way. It's a lot of podcasts between now and 2030.
Hundreds of them.
I like how Nate wanted to come into this segment saying like, "Hey, these are the cool little signings they made," and just you should have just.
No, I'm fine with this. I'm fine with this because this is the hypothetical I've gone through now. Okay, so I keep making jokes. Oh, watch Texas. Okay, Arch this. I think he's going to be 1-1 next year, and I know there's a couple other interesting names, but after him, it's not like I like Sellers, but the league I think is a little lower than I am. There's Dante Moore. There's a couple interesting names, but. Okay, say they have the first pick and say they're like, okay, we're taking Arch. This is the same family that the San Diego Chargers drafted Eli Manning, and they said, nope.
Yep.
So that's a non-zero timeline. That's a possible multiverse that could happen. That's just in the back of my head. We joke about the Cardinals, but look at the NFLPA grades on them. They get F's across the board. It's bad. It's been bad for a long time. I mean,
they have some interesting players on offense too. I mean, Sayamalu, Kendrick Bourne, Algier, as you mentioned, like all those guys really interesting. But they got a cool season out of Michael Wilson. Like I still kind of have some hope for Harrison and Trey McBride's awesome. And just like, all right, guys, we'll go screw around with Brissett and Minshew for a year. Just like I don't know, just trade for Tyson Bagent. Like sell me some BS on like that ain't gonna work either. But at least like sell me some fake news and hope there. I don't know.
Tyson the process Bagent. He's the process now. He's like the Sixers 15 years ago.
And also here's my worry with the Cardinals. There's a lot of bad teams this year at the bottom. Like it seems like we are in a rut the past few years where the bad teams, you could win 5 games and get like the 11th overall pick. Like we've really kind of been struggling over the past couple of years. Yeah. I think there's a world where if guys stay healthy, I honestly like Mike LaFleur's offense with the Jets.
Yeah,
I kind of thought Zach Wilson was an anchor on it. I'm not going to talk you into anything. What I'm talking you into is the idea that they could win just enough games to not be able to get their hands on Arch. Like Jacoby, the offensive line, Algier. And I'm talking like 4 wins, 3 wins. That could push you like way past, where you need to be based on what we've seen the past few years at the top of the draft. And it's like, man, this is tough. Are you sure you just don't want to start Kadon Slovis for a full year and just go full after it? I mean, look at the rest of the team. It's not that good. Certainly not good enough to win the NFC West. So I'm not sure what's happening here, but I could see them like ending up slightly into purgatory range at the end of this if guys stay healthy, because it's not like this is the least talented group of teams you've ever seen. It's just not even close enough to compete with what are your immediate threats within the division.
Yeah, and the NFC's got some. Even the middle class of the NFC is actually like pretty dang good too. There's like the Eagles might be taking a step back, but they still are the Eagles. Like the Cowboys are stepping forward. Like there's just a lot more in that middle. Right now, they're projected to win 4.5 games, or that's the over/under right now for the Cardinals. Looking at some others, the Panthers are at 6.5. The Browns are at 6.5. What are your Falcons at? Falcons are at 7.5.
2
right now.
Oh, it's too high. It's too high.
Raiders are at Raiders are at 5.5. Dolphins are at 5.5. Jets are at 5.5. So those are the lowest ones. Titans at 6.5. So they have the lowest projected one right now. So I'm just kind of throwing it out there. I haven't looked that up until right now. Yeah, I know it's. Are they again? This offense actually fits their personnel like pretty well. As like I've talked about that. Like Michael Wilson's a great fit for this offense. MHJ, if he's with Brissett, like that actually is a pretty cool fit. Not Gardner. Gardner doesn't throw over the middle. And I always like Kendrick Bourne. I think he's a great 3, and they need a little team speed. But with McBride's a really good tight end. Like, I don't know. They have enough, I think, to just be interesting. I think it's going to be a fun tank. Oh, God, I'm talking myself into watching them. But we'll see. We'll see who they draft. I'm really curious who they draft. That will kind of indicate some stuff as well, where they go line, they go splash guy. Like, they could go a few different directions. Probably should trade back, to be honest. But maybe it's a new GM after this year. Who knows? But the Cardinals are just kind of like, I'm glad you said that, Chuck, because their fan base actually is pretty fun online. And I've talked a lot about the Cardinals, so I get to interact with them a decent amount. So I agree with that. I'll get into signing I didn't like after I just brought up the Cardinals as trying to like float that out there. I guess that was chum in the water. I'll go Wan'Dale Robinson to the Titans, which because familiarity with Brian Dable. And you got to make sure you get the 50th percentile slot into your offense, and that's what's gonna solve all your problems. That's what's gonna help everything out. I'm very surprised, but I saw all the rumors about how much he was gonna get paid, and then I see the Romeo Doubs contract come in, and I'm just really going like, familiarity is why you're gonna pay this when a guy that has way more outside ability, which is what you need. That's a lot of money, I think, for a slot only guy. This is the Christian Kirk contract, I think, of this contract or of this cycle. I just don't get this. Why we let Brian Dibble be a shadow GM for an offense that was never amazing and actually got better after he got fired. And I look, even this is just the last 2 years. I could go last year, but the last 2 years, Wan'Dale Robinson amongst all receivers with 400 or more routes. He is 43rd percentile in first downs per route, 50th percentile in yards per route, 23rd percentile in explosives per route. Meanwhile, Romeo Doubs, 82nd percentile in first downs per route, 77th percentile in success rate per route, 65th percentile in yards per route, 73rd percentile in explosives per route. And I'm just bringing up Doubs because of just the pricing. What reported, there's 40 different reports on Romeo Doubs' price, but I'm going to guess it's in the same tier. Just very, for what a guy that I think is a 3 at best and slot only, just very kind of like this one kind of was very sour for me because it's just because I guess of Dable's familiarity. I just didn't understand that thinking where it's like there's some other interesting names they could have splashed out. Or like I think Doubs was one of those. Am I being too hard, Matt Harmon, on this signing? And yes, the Titans have to spend money somewhere, and yes, they need weapons. Yeah. And Robinson could be a nice, reliable guy, but I just don't think he's a true needle mover for a position that I think is very fungible and findable. I would say is a good way to put it.
No, I mean, I think it's fine was my reaction to this. Like, I'm not going to kill it, but I'm not going to say like great move, Tennessee. I don't love that both of these, Robert Saleh or Brian Dable, are like, let me just get the guys that like I didn't win any games with back in here. Like, when is Dre Greenlaw going to sign with the Titans? Like I don't. Daniel Bellinger also didn't he signed with Tennessee as well? Like,
yep. Yes, he did.
They're like the ultimate they're overdoing it in terms of like, well, I know this guy, so like let me get him in here again for a place that I didn't win any games. But yeah, Wan'Dale, like he's a totally acceptable slot receiver. My 2 big concerns about it would be, number one, is that I kind of think Jahmyr Adike, you got a nice season out of him, and they're not completely similar players, but I think like pre-snap deployment and kind of the same route tree, you'd want those guys doing the same things, like the underneath stuff for these guys, and then like let them rip it deep. Because essentially what the Giants did with Wan'Dale last year was, what if we took his really stupid Mickey Mouse and hitch heavy route tree from 2024 and just like throw a deep post in there every now and again? What would that look like? That's essentially what they did with him last year. And actually he was much more productive from an efficiency standpoint, just overall production in 25 than he was in 24. It wasn't great. A lot of it was just like, it's, again, like I said, it's totally fine. But to me, the second thing that I'd be concerned about this with, and I said this on the Athletics live stream, and the Titans fans have been all over it. They hate this idea because they're relating it to the Family Guy boat meme, and which is not what I mean by this. But like to me, and I think this is the same with Romeo Doubs too. By the way, I think these guys are fine to sign. Like it's not a big deal. Like they're not going to kill you, especially if you've got money to burn. And like I think they can actually both, for teams that just need bodies at wide receiver, be totally fine. But to me, I'd be trying to focus on like, okay, I got these guys, but I'd also be trying to find like who's the next Wan'Dale Robinson, who's the next Romeo Doubs, because both these guys are guys who started for 4 years, were never bad enough to lose their jobs and just got better and better every single year till they had their best years in their fourth season. Now they're free agents and they're getting more money with their next teams. And then neither will probably be on the roster in 2 years. Cause again, hopefully you found the next replacement for that. So like I said, it's totally fine, but you just also don't want to cut off too many pathways to developments for younger guys on your roster. But Tennessee's in such bad shape at wide receiver. I'm not going to kill him for just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks here.
Just somebody to catch the football. That's not a fourth.
They literally need somebody to catch the football.
Yeah.
Like last year was it was a humiliating wide receiver room. It was a humiliating wide receiver room. So maybe DK and Iowa are the next Robinson and Dobbs, right. But maybe not. So just like keep shuffling guys in here.
The positive thinking is that Cam Ward had great chemistry with Xavier Restrepo, and Wan'Dale's better than that. Like maybe that's what you're thinking is like, okay, this slot target that we're just going to feed him for a high target thing. Okay, I could get into that argument. But yeah,
he could legit catch 100 balls this year. It ain't gonna be pretty or productive, like helpful necessarily, but he could legit catch 100 passes this year.
We might see
again.
Might get one of those Jarvis Landry seasons. No, but again, the pass catchers in the skill positions were so young and not dynamic enough last year, and they needed some guys that can at least be, again, tolerable. We're going from crap to not crap again, and that's one of those things. I just thought it was a little rich, and I just thought just because of the familiarity, it's like if that's your argument, I hate that argument, kind of thing. Yeah. Chuck, any thoughts on the Titans? Or I know you've talked into the defense, or do you want to get into one of your moves that you're questioning?
We can stay in the division. I just want to ask more about like this Daniel Jones situation. Where he gets hit with the transition tag, it's $37.8 million this year for him on the transition tag, and they're working on an extension with him. I can't imagine that would be like a long-term extension due to the injury, and also like some of the play that was happening before the injury where the offense was starting to fall apart a little bit. I guess I just find myself asking, why was this tag necessary? Like who is signing, like who was matching this offer sheet in the first place, like to get Daniel Jones like for 1 year, $40 million coming off the Achilles. What was your competition here to get this done to the point where you had to like lock him in on this big figure? And like, dude, if I'm Daniel Jones, okay, well, if my salary this year is going to be 37, almost $38 million, then why would I like start negotiating for something that will be less than like 2 years, $80 million? Or in right. that ballpark, just based off of what is currently being offered to you today, and that's a commitment, man, for the Colts, even for 2 years, because you don't know what can happen. I mean, did you know maybe at the start of the season that you would have a chance at signing Kyler Murray? I don't know, no, but now you're kind of locked out of that if Daniel Jones continues on the transition tag. And maybe Kyler still joins for a vet minimum and they have a little quarterback battle because his contract is so cheap. You can kind of do both. But I've just been confused on why this felt necessary, because I feel pretty certain that you probably won't spend 2 months averaging more points than the 2007 Patriots and having that level of ruthless efficiency. Maybe you won't be quite as bad as you were towards the end of the year, but at no point does this really scream like, oh man, like we got to invest in this, other than just saying, well, F it. We traded 2 first-round picks. What now? It doesn't have to be this. This is just what you did last time. But you could do something else. And I just find it interesting that they locked themselves in here, especially considering, man, no one's going to match this. And even if you were thinking about someone could match this, look at what's out there. There aren't really many spots that would make sense for this to happen. So it just kind of feels like they're negotiating against themselves here, against an asset that we all know was on the downswing coming into the offseason.
Yeah, I just got to see how they stick this landing. I don't even know if stick the landing is the right phrase for it, but just like what they try to do here and what the plan is. And it's an Achilles injury in December. And that's truly,
it's like, is he going to play
injury.
week 1?
Probably not.
He won't be himself if he does.
That. Like, no. And it's a guy, again, that thrives off athleticism.
You did trade 2 first-round picks. So what are you going to do? Quit? Just hand over, the top 5 picks.
And what looks like a good draft.
Right. I don't know. Good luck. Swoop
up Riley Leonard. That's what you got to do on your dynasty teams. Swoop up Riley Leonard. Yeah, I know. The Colts, the whole AFC South is kind of crazy. Like even the Texans, like, Jags kind of just re-signed their guys. They might be sniffing around with Trey Hendrickson. Who knows? But the Texans signed Reed Blankenship. I really like that deal. But then I think he's a perfect scheme fit for what they do. Like absolutely perfect. Now, having said that, I think just their offensive lineman re-ups. I get the Trent Brown one, but the Ed Ingram, I think they've really talked themselves into Ed Ingram. Like they really have. They're like, again, they were like, never again. But the thing was, like, he still was just below average. He wasn't getting pass protection last year. He's a great run blocker, and that still flashes of run blocking. He still has just misses. But I feel like they're just like, nope, this is our guy. This is the guy we're going to pay. And I'm just saying, okay. They signed Braden Smith as well today. They made Fairburn the highest paid kicker. They re-signed Sheldon Jenkins. They've re-upped Daniil Hunter on a big deal, $30 million guaranteed extension for 1 year. But the Texans are kind of just in flux too. Like the whole AFC is so freaking wide open that I understand pushing. But the thing was with the Colts is all signs are pointing for you guys to take a deep breath. And they're just like, nope, this is the build we're going with. It's like everything in the universe is telling them, no. And they're just like, yep, we're going. This is what we're doing. And we'll see. My kind of like last, maybe a little iffy move is, the Commanders. Are you okay? That's really what, they paid big money for Oweh. What'd you think of Oweh? Like, what do you think of this signing, Chuck? He really picked it up in the second half of the year with Minter. But now he's going to a lot more freewheeling system, I would say, in Washington.
Yeah, like I think getting to the Chargers last year was great for Oweh. That was probably one of the better things that's happened for him, getting to work with Jesse Minter. I thought that was probably just the closest thing you saw to like what Baltimore, maybe was throwing a dart at when they took him in the first round. When he had no sacks his last year as at Penn State, and then he comes out and blows up the combine. He's like, wow, kind of plant theory stuff. It's kind of hard, guys that big, that fast, and he's developed into, like a quality starter. And once you hit free agency and teams are desperate for pass rush help, it's like the more you kind of think about it, it's not like too surprising to see him get a deal like this when you put together like his age, his traits, and what could happen next for him. But I'm not sure that I love this fit for him, the player, because man, we've seen over the years, like Dan Quinn, he's invested a lot in defensive line play. Some of the best guys he didn't actually like acquire himself in terms of like Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence. Those like weren't specifically hand chosen players for Dan Quinn, and when he's had more freedom to kind of choose his own personnel, it hasn't always gone so cleanly. We saw a lot of draft busts in Atlanta, even like the spots where he had a little more influence in Dallas, where they got really small linebacker, weren't always conducive as they were trying to rebuild that unit after he left. And now with the Commanders, we saw last offseason got a little weird with the defensive line moves they made, and now they're taking the big splash with Oweh. It's just guys don't really seem to always get better here, and I kind of wonder if he's like at the spot. Oweh, excuse me. I wonder if Oweh's at the spot where he's not as unrefined as he was when he got in, but he's also not like the cleanest player in terms of, if you're looking at a $25 billion per year pass rusher, you're not looking at someone here who has great technique, is always aware of where he's supposed to be. I kind of wonder if those get exacerbated in Dan Quinn's scheme, because it just kind of seems, especially last year, like no one really knows what's going on here sometimes in coverage. Like the pass rush plans are pretty basic, and it's not always not always putting guys in the best spots to succeed. Like Jesse Minter did a lot of stuff with not just Oweh, but also Tuli Tuipulotu, the other guy on the edge, to get them looks where they can get free. And Dan Quinn's more just going to say, well, go, like get a field and run. And I'm not sure if Oweh's like that level of player where he's just going to go be this one-on-one assassin that Dan Quinn kind of needs. Because you can tell that with Micah Parsons. You could just say, go. Don't have to worry about that. Even in the past with guys like Cliff Averill, just go. Don't have to really worry about too much. But Oweh's not like that level of technician yet. And I wonder if this ends up being a spot where you see the production regress a little bit.
Yeah, I think you nailed both the good and bad. Like there's talent here, but I thought Minter just did a great job of like honing in that talent and going like, we're going to use you this way. And I think the unblocked pressure stuff is very real. He did play better. That's the thing, is that's if you're optimistic about it, you go, okay, well, he played better. We're just, riding the wave. But again, like you said, it's that Dan Quinn has kind of had ups and downs with these types of guys. I want to see him with Dorrance Armstrong before he got hurt. He was really coming along. But this defense still needs a lot. It feels like the Commanders missed or left at the altar with a lot of signings. That's what it just kind of feels like to me. I don't think anything's reported on that, but it just kind of feels like they had different plans. I think Oweh was a part of that plan, or maybe a backup to that plan. Like, I don't know. It just feels like we have to address this. Okay, you addressed it. Now I'm curious what they do with their first round pick. They don't have a ton of draft capital. So I don't know. This just kind of feels, I'm trying to figure out what the heck's kind of going on there. Their O-line moves have still have me squinting a lot about what they're trying. They were in the Mike Evans market. They're just kind of spraying and praying right now. And I just want to see what kind of happens with them. And I'm just very curious.
It feels disjointed a little bit. The roster feels a little disjointed right now. Yeah.
Almost like there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen and in front office stuff. Yes, almost. Quick roundup before I kick it on over to the last question for you guys. Offensive guards got paid. Zion Johnson to the Browns. They also signed Tevin Jenkins as the Browns continue to try and reload their offensive line. They needed it because they think they're still going to be in the market for an offensive lineman with one of their first-round picks. David Edwards to the Saints on big money, $40 million guaranteed at signing 3 years. His first 3 years are fully guaranteed, so essentially automatically a 3-year deal. I think he's a good pro. I think he's a professional Badger. Not even just saying that because he's a Badger, but do think he's a good pro. Kind of digging the Saints O-line, if I'm being honest. And they signed ETN. Okay, we'll see. Maybe him and Devin Deal and him are actually a great pairing together. But we'll see. But Alvin Kamara maybe on the outs. We got John Simpson back to the Ravens. Mentioned that, but we also got Elijah Vera Tucker to the Patriots. I like this kind of swing that the Patriots did. The Patriots kind of had some fun, what I call medium swings. Vera Tucker, Draymond Jones, Reggie Gilliam, who I really do like as a glue guy. But Draymond Jones played well with the Ravens last year. I think he lost weight and it looked a lot better. I actually kind of makes sense that Vrabel will love a mauler like that. But Elijah Vera Tucker has a active game incentive roster bonus. Did you guys see this? Tom Pelissero reported it. $250,000 for each game he's active. $250,000 for every game he's active in his contract. It's one of the biggest I've ever seen. But it makes sense. It's one of those everyone's just like, yeah, I get it. Like, he's faced a lot of injuries, but if he's healthy, he's like a Pro Bowl talent. But that's the if. So it doesn't, again, they have some backups, like Brown's interesting, but they need another body into this room. But I kind of like what they're doing. If this does hit, I like Will Center. And I do like the Romeo Doubs signing. I really do. I know I'm a fan of him. I think probably even a little bit more than Matt. But we're talking about this on the All Football 301 show. But I mentioned the percentiles earlier. I mean, he was a top 20, 25 advanced stat performer. And I know he's going to get overpaid in this, but I kind of like how the receiver room's getting built. I think Kyle Williams will have to be the speed guy long term. But Kyle Williams, Kendrick Bourne, and Romeo Doubs got some decent size. They got some kind of nice, fun synergy. Doubs and Booty, I should say. Booty have kind of some sameness. I don't know. That's just to me. I don't know if you think the same thing, Matt, but I've really liked this one. I think he actually is going to have some nice kind of synergy with Drake May, who's going to let him kind of go snatch that football, something he's used to with Jordan Love. So a guy that wasn't a big fan of, I would say. I thought I was kind of lukewarm on him, and I just really think this last year he's come along into a nice secondary pass catcher, kind of in a team built with a lot of those guys. So maybe some questions about man. I just want maybe some does he have any questions about man coverage or against man coverage for you, Matt?
I thought that was stuff? His best stuff was working man.
Okay,
coverage,
that's what.
Especially on in breakers specifically. Okay. He's a guy. Truly, and he's kind of similar with Wan'Dale. Don't you just kind of want to find the next Romeo Doubs? Which this doesn't cut off you for forbid you from doing that. I still think they'll draft somebody, and they should draft somebody. But he allows you to also move Booty around, not just be an X receiver, which is kind of what he was last season. Kyle Williams, whenever he played, was also just pure X, because he's been the on-ball receiver for the Packers and kind of the original guy that I kind of coined as a sacrificial X receiver early on in his career. But he's become more than that now because he can run those in breakers. But yeah, Patriots fans have been One of the Patriots fans asked me this morning, like, what is the Patriots' obsession with like wide receiver threes and not like going for an elite wide receiver one? I'm like, well, there are no wide receiver ones available. Like if you're going, I did a whole video on this for my YouTube channel. Like if you're going into free agency looking for a wide receiver one, you're gonna blow it. Like those guys don't hit the open market. No. You got to draft them or you got to trade for one. And trading for one is easier said than done because when other teams have one, they usually don't want to trade them to you. So, like, yeah, New England, you've got to kind of cobble it together right now unless you can hit on a draft pick, which you can. I think there will be some good, interesting players available in the late first round and in the second round this year.
Yeah. Same. Yeah, no, I think so too. And I think there's some speed guys if they're looking at day two. No, I think they, again, they don't have to draft somebody. They don't have to draft a guard if it's a guy they don't like there. They don't have to draft a receiver if there's a guy that they don't like there. So I don't know. That's what sometimes free agency does. It just keeps your paths open. It makes them more valid, or it makes them more like, again, it becomes a want, not an absolute need, which you should be drafting for anyways. But a couple more kind of like roundup things. Quincy Williams, another Football 301, I would say quasi favorite, signing with the Browns. Did you have any thoughts on this, Chuck, with Quincy Williams and Carson Schweschinger? Maybe with the Browns? I like it. Piqued my interest a little bit.
Same. I like it because Carson Schweschinger is there. You know, if Quincy,
point shoot.
If point shoot. If Quincy was your top dog, this is looking a little shaky. But I think Quincy's been at his best when he's been insulated with talent. He can just kind of be the attack dog and do what he does best, which is hit people really, really hard in the mouth. And I think that this situation kind of lines up perfectly for his skill set. Obviously, the defensive line will be good. We know Schweschinger was good last year. And now, like, that's a really fast linebacker duo to pair with the defensive line is going to create a lot of pressure. So, this is why I guess the Browns' win total is closer to, what did you say, 6.5? Because the defense should be pretty good. It should be a fast defense. Now we just got to see what happens on the other side of the ball. But I do like the idea of Quincy Williams and Schweschinger behind that defensive line because they got a chance to be protected. Not the biggest linebacker duo that you'll see out there, but the speed and the range will really help them make a lot of plays up front, and that's going to be really tough to play against.
It's a one that not for everybody, but I like it for them. Like one of those where because they have the guys in front of them to make it work. So I'm glad you brought up the line because that matters. Also, this reminded me, Jawan Briggs, this guy that got traded from the Browns to the Jets last year, was like fodder. Got some crap to him. I'm talking about the Jets defensive line. I just want to like plant a little mini flag on March 10th on Jawan Briggs for 2026 when we talk about the Jets at like November to peek in on some of these teams that are tanking. But rounding it out, we also have the Bears trying to improve the spine of their defense. We got Kobe Bryant, Devin Bush, Neville Gallimore, Khalif Raymond. I actually really liked. I like the Bryant signing. I really liked. I'm indifferent on the Bush one. He did play his best football, talking about Speedy Browns guys. Did play his best football last year, but I think he's more just an average starter, maybe above average at best. But I do like the Bryant one because that makes sense. Smart DB that's got range, really fits what Dennis Allen wants to do. So I actually really like that one as far as just a safety signing. Also, Jaylen Thompson, I like that for the Cowboys. I like that safety signing as well. Somehow missed out on the Nakobe Dean sweepstakes, even though they're
speaking of linebackers, need the big brother, Yeah.
Well, I think that lose you.
I said, speaking of linebackers, they need the big brother.
Did they cut off my mic? As we're around at the show. Sorry. Maybe my headphones went out. But no, it's but I think the two is just the safeties. I think that's kind of just the market that I really like. But my last kind of question, unless there's any other roundups that you guys want to hit on, a Matt that you want to hit on or Chuck that you want to hit on before we kind of close out the show with one last little. Okay, it's how we started the weekend. Maxx Crosby traded to the Ravens. Couple first round picks I covered on Friday night, and a nice kind of low volume, smooth jazz recap solo pod that I decided to do Friday night and send over to Stone and say, hey, put it out there. Thank you very much. But what'd you guys think about this? Some of their teams were sniffing, of course, but Crosby is now a Raven. What are you now thinking about the Ravens' chances, Crosby's fit, everything in between? Matt, I'll start with you.
Yeah, this was one of my two landing spots for him was either here or Tampa Bay. for Maxx Crosby. And I think it makes a lot of sense in Jesse Minter's defense because he can be an edge defender for like against the run, obviously great pass rusher, the whole deal. So this was the spot I kind of wanted him to land with was Baltimore. We talked about this a couple of shows ago, so makes sense to me. And listen, like it's a aggressive move for Baltimore, 2 first-round picks. You don't typically see them make this sort of push, but I kind of like it. Like they've always been, we'll take the project-y edge types or like the kind of low ceiling, high floor edge types. They've done that for a few years, like guys with size and everything. So it's a little bit of a departure. Just make the full big swing here for Maxx Crosby. But again, the reason why I wanted to see this happen, this was a pairing I liked, was because I think his ability to play a ton of snaps and be a good run defender out on the edge is key in Jesse Minter's like 4 down front. We're going to play a lot of coverage on the back end. So yeah, I mean, fits a lot in that direction as well.
Chuck, what did you think about this one? Now I can hear you guys. I'm hardwired now. But Chuck, what did you think about Crosby, now a Raven?
It's interesting. This just adds more pressure to what they're trying to get done this year, right? Because they let go of John Harbaugh. Todd Monken's out here saying he feels like he didn't do a good enough job coaching Lamar Jackson. So, like, those 2 instances right there put a lot of pressure on it. Now you've traded 2 first-round picks for Maxx Crosby to like make a Super Bowl push this year. That's what this is for. Whether it gets them there remains to be seen. My only worry here is I think this roster is a little more fragile, than they're letting on. And the flexibility of not having those picks is going to make things a little bit tight. But again, Maxx is a great player. It seems like there was definitely competition to try and get him. So if you wanted to get Maxx Crosby, because we know at least like I think the Bears were rumored to be bidding. We saw a handful of other teams that were in the mix in reporting. So there was clearly a little bit of a war. They got it with 2 first-round picks. Got to get somewhere this year. Got to get on a run this year because Maxx is up there in age. And like I said, the roster is a little bit fragile. So you kind of got to max this out as soon as you possibly can. But if they're healthy, that defense should be pretty damn awesome with Jesse Minter calling the plays. I mean, the secondary alone is going to be good. We've seen Roquan Smith, even though he's not like quite at the peak of his powers, he still has his moments. And now if Madubuike's back, you've got Maxx Crosby. It's damn good defense. So hopefully they don't raven it up like they have in the past couple of years.
If Jesse Minter can do that for Oweh, just imagine what he could do for Maxx Crosby. And he plays hard against the run, plays hard against the pass. He's effective against the run. He's effective against the pass. But this is a 2-year push. This is the kind of, all right, this is a 2-year push, and I think this whole team will be on a reset after that 2 years. But you mentioned it, maybe getting up there in age, getting up there in snaps. He has 6,112 defensive snaps in his career. Only one other defender over that time period has more than 6,000, Byron Murphy, a DB. And the next highest defensive lineman or edge player is Brian Burns with 5,294. So almost 1,000 snaps. That's a season's worth of snaps more. Those add up. Like, humans are human. Like, even the freakiest of freaks and the hardest workers. It's like that is just in the back of my mind. But having said that, one of the most productive guys, plays every snap like it's his last. These are the guys you pay. These are the guys that you want to have on your team. Like, I understand why they did it, even if it's a tad rich. Like, I totally get it, though. Like, it's like this is I keep bringing it up, but the AFC is wide open. This is your time to push. Like, Chiefs are resetting. Like, there's openness right now in the league. So, like, just push. I'm not used to myself with big headphones on right now, so I'm cracking up. But no, I totally kind of get this again with Crosby. So I hear you guys. It's sound canceling. It's great. No, but and also the Raiders, they're picking a nice little spot there at 14. They can go a few different directions. I think they should keep adding to the offensive line, but there's a lot of good but not great talent. So I understand it for the Raiders too. And I mean, now we're getting every story about how he's trying to help out the team and he didn't want the Raiders to. He wanted to help out the Raiders, even though he's leaving the Raiders. And actually, he wanted to help. But whatever, it's done now. I'm glad to see it now. Kind of wrap up there. But I understand why the Ravens did it, even if it was a tad rich. It should be fun. That's really it. Seahawks, just for you, Stone, brought back Shaheed, brought back the guys. Not much there. Seahawks, Bucks, Alex Anzalone, Kenneth Gainwell, and I think we nailed it all. I think we hit every team that we had wanted to do. And a fairly tidy time. We got Pixar movie length today. We got 95 minutes or so. But guys, thank you so much for joining me. You two, Matt and Chuck, for joining me for this live recap pod. Thank you all for joining us. Everybody listening live, that was a ton of fun. So thank you so much for joining us for this, decent sized live show as we recap the first couple days of NFL free agency. We tampered the tampering period, but we're closing it out today. I'll be back on Thursday with Chuck. I'm Nate Tice. You can find me at Nate_Tice. That's Matt Harmon. You can find him at Matt_Harmon_BYB. And that's Charles McDonald. You can find him at Fort Verts on Blue Sky. Me and Chuck have a mock draft. No, we have a big board. We both have big boards out there on Yahoo. Top 50s. Fresh. They're fresh. A lot of work on those. We got comparisons coming in. We got a mock draft coming up next week. Matt has charts galore on all these receiver signings from potential rookies coming in the draft to free agents and everything in between. So make sure you check out Reception Perception and check out the Yahoo Fantasy Forecast, award-winning Yahoo Fantasy Forecast, and everything Matt does over there. Subscribe to us, follow us, rate us 5 stars here at Football 301, wherever you get your podcast. Watch us on YouTube, like some of you are right now, for this live show on the Yahoo Sports YouTube channel. Make sure to check out the Indoor Football League this Saturday, please, 5 Eastern. I'll be doing it. I'm excited. It's indoor football. It's going to be fun. I promise. But thanks to Stone, Austin, Madison behind the scenes for making this look and sound good as well. Thank you all for listening. See you guys next time.